this off in welcoming us, Stephanie Whitman, today. She's the Vice President of Marketing at Geiger, where she leads global marketing and brand strategy for one of the industry's largest promotional product distributors. Stephanie brings a strong background in strategic marketing, communications, and digital transformation with a focus on practical results driven approaches to growth. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Please keep your mic turned off during the session and use the chat for questions. If you would like to receive credit for the session, please be sure to stay through the end. Stephanie, we're so glad to have you with us today. I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Roma. I am so excited to be here with you all. This is one of my favorite topics to be talking about today, and we have a lot to get through. So I'm going to get started. I would encourage you to pop questions in the chat when you feel like you want to hang on to that question so you don't lose that. And then I'll be peeking at them a little bit later in our session when we do a little Q&A at the end. And I only say that because I will get so distracted by going to check them out. I know myself too well. So Sarah Beth warned me to say, make sure everyone knows that I am not a bot. We can make those. We won't be today, but I'm a real human, and I have a goal today that we break down AI a little bit further than what a lot of the media is showing. So I hope you leave today with some new skills, some new prompts, and some ways to make your lives and your businesses a little bit easier. So I gave a similar presentation at our Geiger Galleria in July. A lot's changed since then, and we've adapted this presentation to that. So let's get started. So like I said, we're going to talk about foundational mindset. How do we approach this in bite-sized chunks to be successful? How do we make it human? And we're going to make some really cool things. So the first thing as we get into that mindset, I want everyone to know there's more to AI than ChatGPT. Most people are only living in this ChatGPT world. And I'd also like you, as a big takeaway, to think about how software companies sell products. If you are using a free version, you are the thing that is being sold. Keep that in mind. Okay, so if you are using the free version of ChatGPT, your data is being put in their larger LLM. I would highly recommend that you are using the business version. Those are, that's the one that has 2 licenses per account on it that you can share. I have heard and tested many a time that the weird things that you chat inside of this are unique to your own account. But when you upgrade your account, you get that protection that you're only playing in your own sandbox and not in this larger LLM. Okay. So anytime you're using free versions of an AI tool, you are feeding that mothership level of computer. So use the paid version. If you are getting the thing for free, then you are the thing being sold. Okay. So let's talk about curating some of that chaos. There's over 5,000 different tools that exist. We could spend the entire time just evaluating every different tool that exists. I'm going to really focus on the top 3 in my world that we're using a lot in Geiger marketing today. And that's ChatGPT, licensed, of course, Microsoft Copilot, which our cybersecurity team always recommends. We're going to get into that next. And Gemini. Those are our big 3. We'll break it down a little bit further, though. So one of the main concerns that I hear daily is, how do I use it and what do I put into it? So traffic light version of what tools exist and what to do with them. Let's talk about unacceptable use first, okay? Hiring and HR decisions. Not okay. And here's why. We did a bunch of testing and developing these slides. AI already experiences biases. It wants you to be whiter. It wants you to be male often. And when you do general prompts, particularly for imagery, you are seeing those come through very frequently. You don't want to use this to make HR decisions, okay? You don't want to use AI tools that are unverified and have deep fakes or are owned by foreign governments. Those are all things that are collecting data for not so great reasons. And we've categorized them so you can see some of the ones that keep our cybersecurity team up at night. and we are not allowed to use. And I want to focus on that for a second because we probably have a number of promotional products distributors on the call that have enterprise level accounts. So you're selling to a Fortune 500 company. You might have company stores with this. We are seeing at a hugely increased rate, those companies want your cybersecurity policies. They want to ensure that your company is trained in how to effectively use AI. So if you have not figured that out already, now is the time to do so. The best time for you to have figured that out was yesterday, and the second best time is today. So use that as your first takeaway of today's presentation. When we talk about proceeding with caution, use your prompts, right? We're going to get into prompt generation and engineering a little bit later, but now's really not the time to be putting in client information and internal data for your clients. Again, those potentially can break agreements with your customers. They can also violate some of your distributorship's cybersecurity rules. So what is acceptable is, reviewing what you put in there, using it for copywriting, using it for image generation, lots of other ways, okay? So the next thing I want to talk about, this was a lot more information that I should have showed you on the last slide, but something like DeepSeek, owned by foreign government, requires sensitive information. Change that up for Gemini, for Copilot, for OpenAI. Copilot particularly is owned by Microsoft. Your corporations typically have Microsoft licenses. That makes it more inherently safe because that contract is with the quote unquote manufacturer of the AI tool. There's many different ones too, like your Grammarly or WordTune. As someone who lives their life in a world of correct grammar, I rely heavily on Grammarly to help me sound intelligent. Grammarly with AI makes my life a lot faster. So when we talk about prompt engineering, though, the way I break it down the best, I think, is it's like Mad Libs. From if you were a child of the 90s like myself, prompt engineering is Mad Libs. You want to plug in your adjectives, you need your nouns, you need your verbs, and you use that to form a much stronger way of communicating with AI what you actually want. So when we start by saying, like, create this, write this better, I think we've all probably had that time where you just banged out an email really quick and then you sent it in and said, can you write this better? You didn't tell it how you wanted it to write. You didn't tell it why you were writing it. You didn't tell it the audience. You didn't educate the tool. So that AI, we frequently say here, it's like a puppy. You have to train it. You have to train it in the instance that you're using it. So if you want to kind of make a commitment to have a relationship with ChatGPT, start using that more and more and start training your own little bot inside of it to think and do as you want it to do. And you do that through having much higher level prompt engineering. So when you change write this better to act as a who is an expert in, create a this, and then my favorite at the end, explain why you did this. Have AI tell you back what it learned about you from that prompt so that you can continue to get better and better. And that looks like this type of prompt engineering. I do love my little image up here, so you can grab a quick snapshot if you'd like it. So you get to act like a specific role. You can provide context, the scope of how far you want something to go. And we're going to take this even further and show some real life examples of how we're going to change this from prompting into pipeline to really start growing your business. So let's start with you. So define who you are. I'm going to actually read this, with which I would just have a fit if anyone else read a slide when they were presenting, but it's important. Let's act as a brand strategist based on my role as a promotional product sales professional and everything you know about me. So that's that training piece. Help me define my ideal customer profile, the industries I should focus on, and the types of buyers I should target. My strengths and differentiators in selling branded merch, then create a short positioning statement I can use to describe who I am, who I help, and how. This takes things like your distributors' key differentiators. It'll start building your own profile to help you redefine how you're going to market with your customers and new prospects. So let's take this further and help it clarify a little bit more. So you might tell it, I help HR leaders improve onboarding and retention through branded merchandise programs. And then you're going to say, I want to find more like them. We want to talk about lookalike lists. So now you've used that first prompt where we said, this is who I am. Tell me more about who I should go get. And now, based on my positioning of who I am and how I like to sell, identify a list of companies that fit me, right? We're not all perfect to each other. I tell my 9-year-old constantly, not everyone's going to like you and you're not going to like everybody. It's the same way in business. Not every customer is perfect for you, and you are not perfect for every customer. So have AI help you bridge that gap. Have them tell you why a company is a good fit for you and why you're a good fit for them. And then suggest how I should approach them. What does AI think that you can do? And once it gives you that targeted list, now let's take it up a notch further. Now let's act as a strategic advisor, provide insights about this business name to help me engage cross-functional stakeholders. So let's not get pigeonholed in just marketing. As much as a marketing, we would prefer that we do all the things so that our brand is always perfection. We also need to understand that there are many buyers within an organization, and we don't want to lose out on being able to reach one just because we didn't include it or in this prompt or the way that we're prospecting. So identify those key business priorities, target audience, customer needs, internal culture, and employee experience. What you're telling AI is go out and scrub. Go out and scrub their website, go out and scrub their social channels, go out and scrub people who are attached to their social channels. And it's going to give you a packaged result that leaves you 10 times more informed than when you started the day of this potential prospect. If you're attacking someone from, I shouldn't say attacking someone, if you're approaching someone for that's focused in sustainability, to be able to align with them early on in the process and understanding what their ESG priorities are, learning where their ESG guide is so that you can also engage with them, you're that much further ahead of your competitors. And why this changes is it moves you from an order taker to a strategic partner. And I always give this example because I've heard a lot of like, oh my gosh, is AI going to take my job? And listen, I'm not going to lie, like there's many process things that AI probably will, right? I really don't believe that sales is one of them. I don't believe that our industry is one of them. And I'm going to share this story, and some of the people on the call I know have heard it before. But it's a good example of what the difference of AI can't do. So, moment of vulnerability. When I was 22, I worked for a company called Honest Tea. Honest Tea at the time was just purchased by Coca-Cola. If you have kids, they're the Honest Kids brand of juice that's not jack full of sugar. So we're big fans in our house of that. And as I said, I was 22. So luckily, like every 22-year-old, I knew everything and was so good at my job. I didn't need advice from anybody. And my role at Honest Tea was to go out and get that product inside of Coca-Cola stores. So everywhere that Coca-Cola sold, I was trying to get a bottle of organic tea right next to it. It was just about as successful as it sounds in that example. And one of the things I had to do was throw parties for people. And we'd go to these Coca-Cola bottling plants and we'd throw these amazing events. I've always loved events. We do it today at Geiger when we do Galaxy and Galleria. I did it as a child throwing the best tea parties on the block, right? So I felt good about my event plans. Burgers, dogs, we had grills we were giving away before I even knew what promotional products were. And I threw this amazing event, was very proud of myself. And I went to the manager of the entire plant of 400 something people at this event. And I said, so what do you think? with my just total naive self. And he said, "You don't get it." And I was just appalled that this event was not the smashing success that it was in my head. And I just figured this guy was terrible and disregard because, again, I was 22 and I knew everything. And we went to the next event and I did the same thing, threw an amazing event. And at the end of the event, again, I said, "What did you think?" And I noticed one thing before I asked that question. And that was there was one item of food left on the table at both events. There was cookies and brownies and chips and hot dogs and hamburgers and pasta salad and everything you could imagine, but one item left on the table of this event. And if you're a big Coca-Cola person, you might have guessed that that item was the chips. And the reason that Coca-Cola employees will never eat a chip from Lay's is because Lay's is owned by Pepsi. And AI is not going to tell you that the culture inside of Coca-Cola is that you don't wear blue to the office, that you don't ever consume a Lay's potato chip, because the competitiveness is so high and so rich that you walking into that building and saying, "Hey, I know what I'm doing as a promotional products rep because I sell to Pepsi," they're going to escort you off the property. The knowledge that you have as a relationship with your customer is not going to be replaced by this, but it is going to make it that much more valuable to use these tools to support you in that journey. So you've got to have those relationships. If you're an order taker right now, it's time to become a strategic partner. You've got to know your customer. You've got to have those relationships so that when you throw an event at some major company, you don't have an item left behind that makes you look uninformed and like a fool. So let's take that and move forward towards our prompt generation. So let's build that lookalike list we talked about. So we've given it some learning, we've told it what we want it to do. So use those insights from that Coca-Cola, probably not a great example of what I just told you, but think about your biggest client right now. What are your top 3 biggest clients right now? And identify similar companies based on industry, size, brand positioning, values, or audience. If you go back to that story, your biggest client walking into their competitor could be the best thing ever. "Oh, now you know how to serve me. I'm a really unique type of brand, and you serving my competitor is a benefit." But you need to understand if that's a benefit or a negative. Okay, that's in that knowledge of your customer and of that industry. So using that, let's find opportunities. Another prompt for you. Each company identify the opportunities. We're going back to that scrub. It's taking everything it knows about it. It's going to package it for you. This isn't about replacing your relationship. It's about making it faster. When you go to that meeting, you know who you're talking to and what you're talking about. And then for each opportunity, when you're ready to get to that meeting, recommend a relevant product or program. Connect it to a business objective. Maybe they just want best places to work. Maybe they just committed, they found on Facebook that they had 500 days without an injury. You don't think those manufacturers want t-shirts and hoodies and things to celebrate these accomplishments? Find those accomplishments and use AI to scrub those channels into giving you the opportunity to approach a new customer or a current customer as a way to kick off that conversation. "Hey, I heard you won Best Places to Work," or "I saw on social you just celebrated 500 days injury free. I was wondering what your plan was to reward and recognize your employees," because they probably didn't think of that already. And they went, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. What an opportunity for us to kind of get some scores up on employee engagement." So when you have that, act as a world-class B2B strategist. Okay, now let's talk about a plan moving forward. Build a 12-month growth plan for a promotional products distributor. That includes target audiences and positioning, product programs, campaign and outreach, practical actionable ideas, not theories. That gives you, again, we've started small. We've taken our top 2 or 3 clients. We've built an expanded lookalike list. And now we're making a plan. How are we going to use AI to grow our business? Turns into just how am I growing my business? And that takes us to the difference of the prompt to the strategy. You want to use this for once you get into that meeting room with somebody. The note takers are such a big thing right now, right? We're all seeing those transcripts come up and they're going on the side, and you're getting spit out a meeting at the end that says everything you said. If you work in a place like we do that has like microphones in the conference rooms, I'm always like, oh God, they heard that. Whoops. Be careful in those meeting rooms when you have transcripts on. But when you're talking to a customer, a couple of important things on here. The first is I describe a meeting note in meeting taker as an additional guest in the room. If you just brought your sister into the meeting uninvited, didn't introduce her, didn't explain why she was here, it would be super weird. It's the same thing with a meeting note taker. You need to first ask for permission. May I record this meeting and use AI notes on this? Yeah, sure. Like most people are not going to care. Some people are going to care. They don't want that being done, and you'll save yourself that feeling of betrayal later, quite frankly. But let's live in a world where they said, yes, you get your transcript. The first prompt, act as a top enterprise sales rep. Because if you're not already a top enterprise sales rep, I bet you want to become one. So analyze the transcript and extract customer goals. What did it hear that you might not have? Buying signals. Again, what did it hear that you may not have? Decision criteria, budgets, competitors referenced. And then provide some deal strength information. If you're paying attention to how likely is this to move forward, where do I need to spend my time? Time is the one thing that everyone on this call, no matter where you are in the world, has in common. We get the same 24 hours a day. So if we're using this to determine how much time we want to spend and when we want to spend that time, if this is an urgent customer, if it's somebody who we can take a little bit of time to get back to, these are important things to know to move forward. So with that, let's transition a little bit over to the human side of things. So AI is such a duplicate effect. So there's many confusions right now of what's real and what's not. And the first draft of this slide said how to not be an AI loser. And luckily my team said, that's aggressive. Take it, can you take it down a notch? And thank God for them. And we came up with this. So, but keep in mind that was the first draft, and here's why. The AI autopilot vibes, oh my gosh, forget to remove the horizontal lines that come out of ChatGPT. Oh, I hate that. If you send me a ChatGPT response, okay, I don't need to know that it came from ChatGPT. At least do the decency of changing the font to black, choose a different color, and get rid of those horizontal lines. The point of this is to make you look better, not worse. Okay? AI loves adjectives. When we talk about Mad Libs, if AI was writing its own Mad Lib, it would be all adjectives. So it always wants you to use three. Everything is the best, largest, fastest thing in the world. Everything that it spits out almost always has three adjectives. So if you're seeing that come back in your prompts and it's too much, you got to go back through, scrub them manually, or ask it to sound less AI-ish. That's something I do a lot. And I told it, I think AI sounds like someone who uses three adjectives. I also think it sounds like someone who uses $10 words for a $1 problem. Okay. Listen, people are educated or they're not. Who cares where you are? If you are using ridiculous level of words to communicate something that doesn't need it, you're the one that sounds ridiculous. Okay. And those cliche phrases, I don't know how many times since ChatGPT came into play that the words unwavering, dedicated, and moreover have just struck the world with incredible frequency right now. When you see those, now here's to say you can't you can't never use them, right? Like sometimes that's the word that works, but you should know that those are being kind of flagged in people's brains as not authentic. That's what you want to avoid. Um, and those generic, just like safe conclusions, like it's just so cookie cutter that it doesn't look like there was effort or authenticity involved in your response. And that last one, those M dashes, God, AI loves an M dash, and I'm so disappointed in that because I also loved an M dash before AI, and now I feel like I can't use them because people think it's AI even when it's really me writing. So when you're the human co-pilot instead, no pun intended, write the first draft. That first draft that you're asking it to do, that's you. That's your real voice. And every writer has a voice. As someone who's hired people in marketing, I will always say, you cannot teach a writer. You can make them better, for sure. You can shape them, you can mold them, but you cannot teach someone how to write. And when you're, because everyone has this implicit voice within them, and their writing shows throughout that. And when you're using it in any type of way, that needs to come through too. It shouldn't look the same. When our prompts go in, we could use the same prompt. It should give us different results because we're different humans using it. And use your brand voice. How are you positioning your distributorship or supplier in a way that is successful, right? At Geiger, we say, we're full circle for your branding. We treat people from the very beginning till, it just never stops as the way that we position ourselves of family and blah, blah, blah. Like I could go on and on. But we want AI to learn that. So when we're using it to prompt, that it is coming back to us with things that are applicable to our business. So my biggest takeaway for you is let AI amplify your voice, not write it. Okay. Use you. You got to where you are today by using your words and your voice. Use it to amplify, not to replace it. And when we talk about this AI versus reality, images are the biggest takeaway. So man, I love an AI image, right? Because this drink of water right here is a lot. It's not me, right? It's cartoonish. It's barely recognizable. But your headshot should not be the first lie you tell to your client. What a way to build trust with someone that you couldn't even send an image that looked like you. Your image, whether it's on LinkedIn, whatever you're sending in a headshot for, should be recent, relevant, and recognizable. Those are the 3 R's in my book of headshots. Okay. So, and think about, listen, I would love an upgrade, right? But if you walked into a meeting right now, would they know that it's you? And be honest with yourself. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh, you could be sisters, but you're definitely not twins. Okay. So AI can sharpen a photo, but your character builds the brand. You know that. But man, does it make it faster and a lot cheaper to get a good headshot. And let's talk about how you can use AI to find that balance. Okay. So the first is, let's talk about identity preservation prompts. Transform an uploaded photo into a professional headshot. We're going to go through examples. We're going to walk right through every prompt we use to make some of these, okay? Don't alter the face. Biggest thing that changes in AI. They fix your face. Everyone gets a little bit of skincare they've neglected and loses like 20 pounds. So you want to subtly smooth the texture. I love this part. Use soft diffuse studio lighting and a high-end 85mm lens aesthetic. High resolution, realistic photography, unretouched look. So now let's take a look at this. This is me from real to refined. So the starting point over here, this was not a perfect setup. It was not professionally shot. This was an iPhone. There was a pop-up background. There was no lighting, and it was a pretty quick capture. Now, I'll also recommend you don't wear a dress that looks like a curtain when you do this because it's really hard to tell what you look like, okay? But you can refine it with that prompt that we just saw into a professional background. But let's take it a little bit further because, again, I don't love that outfit for a headshot. It's not what I would wear in a headshot. So now we take it from the quick capture to cleaned but not changed to a final version that looks like me. And yes, the image that we uploaded looks a lot like the blazer I'm wearing today. And how you get there are these prompts. So what we're basically doing is we're changing the environment. So we're identity locking. That first thing we looked at of facial structure. What are we not changing? We're defining that first. And then we're saying, replace the floral dress with a tailored black business suit and white top. We want to clean up the background. And that gives you a nice glimpse of how do you take what you actually look like and put it in real clothes. Is it perfect and realistic? I'm going to go with no. But man, that's a lot more realistic than some of the other ones that can come out. So let's talk more about imagery when we move from idea to execution. Now, getting products into this, how are we uploading logos onto things are probably the number one thing people ask. And I would love to say that, oh my gosh, I found it. I found the perfect solution that you can just drop a logo in and everything's perfect and no one has to do anything. I haven't seen it yet. I'd love to say that I have, but I haven't seen it be perfect yet. But gosh, we can get pretty close. And man, can we save some time. And let's see how we can get pretty darn close with an uploaded JPEG and some different things. So let's talk about Vectorizer AI. This is a newer tool that we've been trying out. So why it matters is you can turn a JPEG into a JPEG or PNG into an SVG instantly. The scale is really great. There isn't really pixelation until you zoom in maybe a little bit further. And what it's doing is auto tracing things. There is a free preview, $10 a month after that. But I do want to note, Vectorizer is a streamline for sure. It's a big time saver. But human expertise is still essential for final execution. And if you're not a big art person, let's talk about why. So I'm thankful for the people on my team at Geiger because they all helped develop these slides, especially some of these in here. And this is an example of the original image and the AI result. So Haslow's Restaurant Group is the name of my children's restaurant when they play restaurant at my house. Their names are Hazel and Harlow. They're very creative and mash their names together. And I used AI to make them a cute little logo. Okay, so original image on the left, Vectorizer AI result on the right. So when we zoom in further, okay, the Vectorizer result, pretty strong over here, right? Like that's not bad. And certainly some other more complicated ones, it's saving a lot of time. However, it's not necessarily perfect. When we get into those really clean lines, we're seeing the Vectorizer results get a little choppy over here. And that's where we need artists to come in and clean those up before we move to print. Now, did this make it infinitely easier? For sure. Did it cut down on labor costs? For sure. I think it's a good tool to explore. Again, the transparent uploads also includes a white box. And so it speeds up the process quite a bit, but it may still require that artist's final touch. As you can see here, is it tracing it? Sure, but it's still carrying that white box through. When we go over to logo design, we had some fun with this one. We talked about creating the last logo. Let's talk about creating a logo in general. So this little puffin with a whoopie pie was created in ChatGPT, and the vector art was in Recraft, another great tool to speed up your process. And let's take a look further when we go at some different concepts. So you can create an apron for a new cafe. So the point of this exercise that we're going to walk through right now is how do you take a real product with a real imagery and make it applicable to your clients or to the people that you're going to go approach next. Um, so you get the base product, and we're going to walk through how you got to me owning my own cafe, puffin and whoopie pie in hand. So the first one is taking the real product. So you're going to upload the assets. You're going to provide the blank, the apron photo, and the brand. So we created the brand in ChatGPT. We downloaded the thing from Samwar, and we're going to define the placement. So can you add this logo in the middle of this apron and make it look embroidered? We want to define that imprint method, like I just said. That way you get this first lovely concept. We put the logo on the person. And now we want to take it up a notch and say, remember, when we go to AI, what's real and what's not? Sandmar probably paid a model, this person, for rights to use her imagery. Now, we don't necessarily have rights to change the way that she looks inside of this. She was wearing a certain thing. Now we've put her in something else. The model release rights vary per state and per supplier, I'm sure. So when in doubt, change the person. Please change this woman to brown light hair and her face to make it look like a different person. And then we get this lovely AI generated woman. We want to keep the brand still, but now I want to present a real thing where it's me in my apron and I want to layer this person. So please put the apron on the person and change her outfit to a white shirt and jeans. So now we've taken that full circle. We've taken her from concept, from the product, and you're actually putting your client potentially in the gear that you're trying to sell to them. You want to see how it looks on you with your skin tone? Great, let's put it on. Let's do some examples of your leadership team wearing the polos that I want to send you. Let's do some examples of the new beanies we're going to show, and we're going to stick them on everyone's head, and I'm going to send it back to you like how cool this will look at your next event. But more than that too, there's many times we're trying to outfit an entire area, and you want your customer to envision how is this going to look inside of a certain space. Well, let's do that too. Let's keep the person as is, and let's put them in my very own cafe. My face got a little wonky there, but man, it's close. And then the prompt over here is the environment, the floors are wide plank, the color palette is limited to seafoam green, navy, and blue. The furniture is simple, there's light wood. You can go on and on. You can upload different stock art to give you an example of how this could look for your clients, and put them in their gear, in their space. So we've talked a lot about business and promotional products and how we can grow our business. We've learned cybersecurity. We've learned how to not look like a fool. So let's talk about our personal lives too. I want to share with you just weird stuff I've used AI for and that I think are just great things everyone should know. The first one is emails of disagreement, which is I also like to call things that will hopefully will not get me fired. So what I really want to say, type that right in there and then say, clean this up, act as a VP of marketing at a large promotional products distributor and make this sound in a way that someone will agree to do it without making them hate me. But it still gets the point across in a way that people can receive it without, lessening your tone that something needs to change or something needs to get done. You want to use that tool to get your message across in a way that people can receive it. Custom stories. Again, I go back to my personal life. My children, now both of them, require custom stories at bedtime. I think we are on chapter 40,000 of the Mermaid's Adventure in the Cove. And they love to just tell me whatever thoughts they have. And I type in, write a story about a mermaid who finds a pearl on the beach and goes on an adventure with 5 mermaid friends. And away it goes. And then write the next chapter. Boom. And then write a next chapter where they find a shark. Boom. And on it goes. When it's holiday time, the recipes to the grocery store list organized by department. This was a game changer that someone shared with me. So I will take just quick snaps of my recipes, especially at the holiday time, and then say, combine these into my local Hannaford grocery store and give them the address to it. And it will actually spit back out a aisle by aisle shopping list so that I don't miss a thing. I can even actually send it to my husband and he doesn't miss a thing because it's aisle by aisle. I could even get it to include the shots of the products by brand. Plan your vacation. We recently took the kids to Disney and I wrote little profiles about my children as far as my 9-year-old is afraid of most things and likes gentle rides, and my 3-year-old is not afraid of anything and needs to be constantly running. Design, here are their favorite princesses, here are the things that they like. And it gave me a day by day, ride by ride itinerary, minimizing steps with snack stops, with their favorite foods, avoiding their least favorite foods, scheduling in a nap time. It was amazing. Saved me tons and tons of time. The home renovations, when we went through some of those images, I would just, my gosh, I'm a person who is, I have to see things. I got to get my hands on them. I work in marketing for a reason. Um, my husband is an engineer and he can look at a blueprint and that just comes to life for him. It does not for me. So when we're trying to plan redoing a fireplace or adding an ADU for my parents, we're uploading photos into ChatGPT, describing explicitly what we want to do with it. And it is coming back with just mind-blowing results. Are they like a little bit imperfect? Sure. But it helps me realize, oh gosh, that does look weird to put the porch over there. I think we should put it over there. What does my house look like when it's white? What if we did a brick fireplace instead of like a gas fireplace and just take pictures and upload it into it? What a time saver, and helps you get some inspiration if you just want to instead write, I'd like a modern look to my living room, or I'd love to change the color palette. Here's, another picture of another room. What would you suggest? Fair play in Little League. That is something I've shared with the Little League that I help coach in. I have coached softball for my oldest daughter for going on my 3rd year. And when she was 7, if you've never coached 7-year-old girls, especially in Little League, the number one question they all ask at once is, can I pitch? Can I pitch? Can I pitch? Can I pitch? Can I play first? Can I play first? They're like little seagulls just constantly asking for things, okay? They need a plan. All right. They need a plan. They got to know when they're going to be their favorite things so that they feel empowered to make the right decisions, which is not ask me 1,000 things. So I uploaded, here's all their names. We play 4 innings per game. Design a schedule that everyone gets to play every position in a fair amount. We have 12 games. It spit back out a perfect schedule where people rotated infield to outfield, that everyone got a fair turn. And then every game I showed up with a clear list and a plan and a batting order straight from AI. And those kids felt so good about where they were on the kind of list of what was coming because they could see the next game and all the questions were minimized. And my last one and most fun is those soundtracks for events. We all feel really pressured to come up with the perfect soundtrack. When we're doing our Galleria education and trade show, we want fun walk-up music. Last year was in, oh my gosh, San Antonio. So we wanted like more country themed things. And we used AI to find the perfect song for walk-up music. I also used AI to design the soundtrack for my aunt's divorce party, in which some of the best songs that it came up with were Taylor Swift's We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together and the Dixie Chicks, Earl Had to Die. I do always say that Earl's alive. His name's not Earl, but he's fine. So AI can do really powerful things. It can also just make your life a little bit easier. So I am at the end of my time here, and I hope that you have learned something a little bit new. I hope you feel empowered to attack AI from a different level and in a safe way as well. And if you have questions on things, I'd be happy to take some and I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge. And also, if you want access to the slides or something, you can email me at swhitman@geiger.com. I'd be happy to share these with you. So with that, I will turn it over to Roma or Shay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Wow, that was a lot of great information. You have an amazing sense of humor. I enjoyed every minute of this. I know it was a lot of information for anyone, but for everyone, does anyone have any questions? You can go ahead and pop them in the chat
Stop sharing so I can see people again.
or go ahead and unmute and feel free to ask directly.
I have a question, Stephanie.
Yeah.
I've been told that it's better to be nice to your AI. So do you recommend saying please and thank you, or does it not really matter?
Here's the thing. I don't think it necessarily matters, but I will say I always say please and thank you too, just in case this gets out of hand. I do. And why not? I teach my kids to, when you're asking Alexa something, it's not Alexa, play this song because it's so barky and demanding. It's about human decency, right? Please do this. And I don't know if it's true, but I like to think it is.
Amanda asks, are you going to be sending this recording to rewatch or share with our team? And I think I can even go ahead and answer that. Yes, we'll go ahead and we'll send a follow-up to everyone that attended today with a recording. And Stephanie, would you be so kind as to include your deck with that?
Of course, we'll do.
Great. So we'll go ahead and we'll send that out to everyone. Lots of thanks in the chat. This is some great information.
Wonderful. Okay, well, if, like I said, you're welcome to reach out to me directly, swhitman@geiger.com. Thanks for posting that in the chat, and I'll get that over to you guys for a presentation.
Stephanie, it looks like there's a question about how do you choose which AI to use? For example, I find Claude is better at some tasks versus GPT is good for others.
Yeah, great question, because I think they're always evolving. There are times where 6 months ago I would have said Perplexity is the most reliable on its listing sources. And then like a month later, ChatGPT was doing the same thing. So I think that that is an ever-evolving decision. I do think building that partnership with a AI tool helps you get more accurate results. But I don't think you should take your foot off the gas. I think you need to keep playing around in the sandbox a little bit. Remember those discrepancies around paid accounts. But I do think it's always worth playing with a couple. Some are going to be better with images. Some are going to be better with copywriting. It depends on your output. For me right now, I think ChatGPT is fulfilling the most of my needs. But like I said, that's evolved. I was a big Gemini user. And now I'm kind of back to ChatGPT. So it evolves, but I would always just keep looking around, but pick a friend and stay with them, but also go peeking outside too.
Great advice. Thank you. All right. Well, if no one else has any questions, thank you all so much for joining, and we'll follow up in an email. Thanks so much, Stephanie, and have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you.